Welcome to my Awesome Games Done Quick 2025 video submission of the All Cups category for the game Wild Animal Racing. The term wild is a very good term to use to describe this game. Without spoiling too much, you'll certainly get to see that when you see each of the runs that I am presenting in this video submission. For those of you who are watching, you'll get to see a variety of different times within the time estimate that I have provided for this submission, because I think it's pretty important to see just how goofy this racing game can get. In addition to that, I will be providing a variety of different types of commentary that could be expected if this run were to be accepted into the Speedrun Marathon. Thank you for your consideration. Let's see. Try it again. Sometimes it takes me a while to warm up. This game is one of those things. It's a bit of a variation of going like up and then back down. I'm gonna try it a bit more vertically. These hill polygons are unpredictable. Sometimes you'll like get the contact you're looking for to get a jump. Other times you'll just get nothing and be stuck for eternity. So that's lovely. And I kind of got a little stuck here. Let's see if I can make it across in the slightest. Oh, we did. It was a little slow to the punch, but that's okay. What matters is we got through the mountain and finished, moved on to the next track before any of the other animals finished. Lagoon is an interesting level. There's variable areas where you can kind of just like stay in one area, and then other areas where you get stuck out of bounds or go really slow. And you kind of just have to feel it out. That turn can be really fast or incredibly slow. And there's no in between with it either. Oh, nice. We definitely didn't mess that up at all. That transition on lap 2 can be either perfectly set up or really poorly set up. The same with this turn too. You don't want to be too far to the inside like I was there, otherwise you'll just kind of get respawned in the wrong area. If you can get the jump out, it's not as bad of a respawn, as you'll be spawned closer. That was a much better turn. As you can see, I was getting quicker periods of airtime. That was a little faster, a bit more appropriate for what I was looking for. And again, right now, I mean, I'm not really getting the chance to show it all that much because I'm either going out of bounds or just being brought real far to the back. Is that the CPUs, if you come in contact with them, it's kind of like coming in contact with a, with a glass, like a pane of glass using like a shotgun or a hammer. It is that crazy. It's not that your card shatters and completely explodes, it's that you will run perpendicular. Or the players will, the CPUs will just severely slow you down, which, shortcuts like Lagoon make it a little easier to not have to worry about. But on Mountain Pass, we want to make sure that we hit the shortcut right away, which, in this case, it's going backwards a little bit, then going a little bit further backwards. Making sure you don't run too far into the side. And that does allow you to save a bundle of time. So do grabbing these crystals, which, if I'm able to show off appropriately, they allowed your speed to go up every, I think, 3 to 4 by about 1 kilometer per hour. That was good. That was really good. And so jumping kind of allows you to just kind of speed up and go back to a natural level of speed here. So I was not perfect on the turnaround, but I was able to save time because I did a really quick shortcut on the mountain path. We got one more lap to go. We'll see how that goes. As long as the enemies don't start crowding in between me, I should be okay with this angle. And that was near perfect. Okay. Accidentally went to the wrong stage, but that's okay. We can deal with it. So we're going to a different cup than I normally would. Just have to remind myself to go to roads right after. But we're done with Rally. That is one of the hardest ones, and we got through it okay. We are now on World Tour. Normally we'd take on this cup third, but we're currently doing it second. So I accidentally pushed down a few too many times, and we're just kind of running with it, going with the flow, because that's what you have to do. One thing you'll notice, if I can control it, is that I will sometimes jump if the CPUs come in contact with me. That can help to reduce some of the slowdown that occurs in this game, because there's going to be a ton of slowdown. Animal racing is known for not being very fast and being incredibly difficult to control, if you couldn't tell already. What you see here is what you get. CPUs will send you perpendicular. They will kind of just force you to push a little too far to the outside. So those jumps can kind of counteract a little bit of that, but what you really want is to just be up front, if at all possible. Shortcuts help with that in Rally. We don't have as many of those, so we have to rely on gems to be able to get the job done significantly faster. I've had quite a few places that I've been just sort of backed into a corner with. Plus, these CPUs have been really doing that was a great example. They've been just kind of sending me sideways. That's their specialty. Egypt is a course where there's a lot of places where you can get stuck. It's really true of almost every single one of these courses. You can avoid some of it, and sometimes the CPUs will just have moments of sheer stupidity. But right now, they're just kind of being really smart. Got it under 2 minutes, so not the worst case scenario I found myself in. Egypt went pretty alright, considering the amount of times that I just kind of got slammed into the side. It's an inevitability when you're doing a marathon run. Like, you can't necessarily aim for perfection, and sometimes you just kind of have to settle for what you can. Here's a really good item. I haven't really talked much about items. Bananas are exactly what bananas look like if you slap them with a bunch of yellow-looking oil. I mean, they have the exact same effect. You wind up spinning in circles. Usually it would just be spinning forward, but no. The bananas, they literally force you, you know, like a whirly for about 2 or so seconds. Wildly inconvenient, but we deal with it for what it's worth if there's any leftovers, and there will be plenty of leftovers if you spam the weapon. I know how to spam the weapon. I don't like to, but sometimes I have to if the CPUs are trolling me, so it's a good time. Also, sometimes you just have to react to unexpected objects, CPUs getting stuck in the walls, bananas that have been left behind and have not been taken care of right away, because that'll happen too. Pretty good solid time there. Under 110 for Holland is pretty good. We'll see how Paris, France goes. If you thought that there were ways that you could get stuck in Holland, believe me, you have seen nothing yet. I'm going to grab a few gems and jump a few times just to avoid some of this traffic. Paris, France has plenty of opportunities where you can just kind of just get seriously badly stuck. Alright, here, this should help with some of it. Oh, I ended up with a hammer. Not the greatest weapon. A hammer would not know what it was if you, tried to use a diagonal of the CPUs. However, if you use it, like, to the direct side, yeah, it understands. But, like, the hammer isn't exactly, like, very good as far as range goes. It has about as much effectiveness as, like, a glass hammer, I guess. These CPUs have been sending me in zigzags this time. It's been something. Okay, this weapon's actually pretty useful. It's also really jank, so... Oh, speaking of jank, that weapon just kind of lifts you in the air, and pretty much nothing else. I'm gonna make sure that I go to roads this time around. We are now on roads. It looks a little deceptive. I'm not ahead of my splits. We're just gonna quickly... Okay, we're gonna have to just kind of ride the inside. Our goal is to not get pushed perpendicular, especially in the opening stretch of Coastal Road. It is very easy to just kind of go airborne. And like many other racing games, we're going to be drawing some good lines, if at all possible. Coastal Road's got quite a few good lines that allow us to kind of slingshot back into the lead if we didn't have it for a very long time. And other times it just kind of allows us to maintain a lead if we had one to begin with. Alright. I was able to grab 1 gem, 2 gems is alright. 2 out of 5 is not perfect. Ooh. I'm gonna jump a few times. It does allow us to get the best shot at readjusting and repositioning, because repositioning in this game is like repositioning a car in real life. It is not like A/B spinning in other driving games. The game will need you to back up very carefully before you can start moving forward again. It's great. You gotta love Zoo Race. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of a different racing game. That game is also pretty fantastic too. Not related directly to wild animal racing. But yeah, that one's real fun too. Oh, speaking of fun, sometimes not even the CPUs are pushing you perpendicular. Sometimes the level textures will just like push you perpendicular instead. It's great. Also, if I haven't had a moment to mention it, notice all the ocean sprites here. A single shark fin. I don't know. Maybe it's Jaws. Who knows? I did not necessarily mention it right away, but CPUs have the most extreme forms of rubber banding that are available to any CPU that I could ever think of. Like Mario Kart 64's got some bad rubber banding on a few select courses, but Wild Animal Racing is like on a whole nother level. I'm gonna lay some breadcrumbs. Oh, hey, hello. So what ended up happening there, and that's really interesting, is I ended up switching an item mid-item usage. So I was using a banana, just kind of setting up some defensive items for later, or just seeing if the CPUs get fooled by them. And I ended up with these rockets while directly in front of a CPU, because that'll happen sometimes. I mean, we gotta be kind of careful here, because the breadcrumbs can actually be things that we end up hitting ourselves with too, so... I call bananas breadcrumbs because they're kind of just like breadcrumbs. They're virtually everywhere, and there's little to no escape from them if they're all over the floor. This weapon, again, really useful as long as you're far to the side. Oh, hey, the hammer is actually doing what a hammer's supposed to do. That is not often the fortune I get faced with. Yeah, this should be good. I should be able to, Okay, second place is alright. Iceland's gonna be an interesting one, because, this game definitely knows what Iceland looks like. If Iceland were, a single track in the middle of the ocean, which is wholly accurate to the geographic, island that it's based off of. I can't accept any alternative arguments to such. And much like this course makes perfect sense, so does the driving on it. I'm not one to question it. Again, you can drive really deep into the sides. You can be really close to lava. Like, for some reason, this course just allows you to just push it really, really, really close to the side. You can have, like, nearly half of your left tires. For some reason, I don't know if there's, like, some really strange oversights, but the rockets, sometimes they look like they're gonna hit, and then it looks like the CPUs are kind of just, like, dodging. Not sure what the deal with that is. It's just, it's absurd. Wild Animal Racing provides no explanation other than it just because, which is lovely. Sometimes that's what your racing game needs to be. There needs to be no explanation to it. Alright. Last but not least, we got Magical. And you better believe that if the other cups seemed like they were really, really slow, well, I've got some good news for you. This one is a very fast course. With the last remaining shortcut that we have left, it goes very quickly. Beautiful jump there. About as good as you can ask for. Alright, one more, and hopefully we just don't get stuck. And that's about as good as I can ask for. If this happens in a marathon attempt, I consider it good. 36. Have you guys ever seen Rainbow Road before? Well, now you have. This is most definitely the best version of Rainbow Road. Because it's short, and the music definitely is supposed to hurt your ears. It's a rave party out here. So you don't want to go too far to the inside of the course, but you definitely want to be, like, pushing it as far to the inside as possible. These circles, if you go too far to the middle of them, they'll kind of just hold you captive. So far, I've done a good job of not getting held captive by them. I've had some really good luck on all these. One more lap, and hopefully we should be on our way to the final level of this run, which is called Underwater. Bet you can't figure out why that's the case. I'll play it safe on this last one. We're going to cut back to the inside here. Pretty good. 52:45. And now we got Underwater. And Underwater, it really truly is underwater. I don't know if I have any other way to describe it. You got a whole lot of places where you can just kind of mess up the CPUs. Kind of the name of the game here is to do your best to sort of hit the enemies, get faster and faster, collect some gems while you're at it. There's like 4 in a row that you can collect kind of here. And now we got some breadcrumbs. And now we're going to have some CPUs just kind of getting nicely razzled up here. So that rocket hit maybe wasn't all the way worth it, but it definitely helps to build some space now. I have got plenty of spacing between myself and the other CPUs. We got one more lap to go. This is about as clean as I could expect out of the water so far. Nice. So just when they thought they were out of the way, I can just kind of spam these and we're going to be home free. This run certainly had some very interesting, unexpected shenanigans in here, but it had some good moments too. This is the duality of Wild Animal Racing, and time. What? 18:21. I'd say that was a pretty solid run. Even with all the goofs in there. And I got to showcase some interesting things in there too, so. It'd be cool to be able to show that 3 times in a row. I think it'd be good. Let's see if we can do that 3 times. Look at all these beautiful characters. And we're definitely only going to be picking giraffe every time. Alright. Let's try it again, back from the top. Here we go. I'll see if I remember anything else that I haven't mentioned before that happened this next one. This is one of those courses where there is some benefit to just kind of going further to the outside of the beginning and then starting the climb as we start rounding the corner. My idea on it is that you're taking advantage of the polygons where you can get the most jumps. And sometimes, if you're in luck, you can hit double jumps too. And it's great. It looks cool when it works. And then it looks a little awkward if it doesn't. This is a great example of something not working well. I may have gone a little bit too far down, but we are most definitely getting the lap trigger there. Went a little faster, and this way back is actually going a little bit better than the previous one. I think it should be just enough. The level textures are very finicky, so you want to draw an S-curve if at all possible, but sometimes it's also just best to get through it as quickly as possible too, so a decent handling of mountain, all things considered. It is very possible the next run will just get very stuck for 20 whole seconds on that exact same hills level, so we take it for what it's worth, especially if it's under 110 in a marathon. Lagoon is kind of interesting. That exact same jump, just very slightly to the left or in a certain other direction, would have been either very slow or resulted in a rather jank respawn. So, it's gutsy, and sometimes it doesn't work effectively the way you want it to. The goal with these little beach cuts that we have on Lagoon is to sort of be able to cut it to the inside while not having to respawn, and keeping as much speed as possible, because sometimes we do not maintain all that much speed. These textures have the tendency to just slow us down very heavily. And thankfully the CPUs were there to help me keep my speed. Unfortunately, they also turned me around. They will do that quite a bit. CPUs see fairness and they say, that's not enough. They see fairness as a coin toss if the coin toss was launched into outer space. And the outcome was decided by it burning or not burning. They are really astounding in their resolve. Decent finish. Close to sub 130, so if it's even remotely close to that 130, I consider it a win. Mountain Pass is another very interesting level. In this particular section here, you want to be getting as many jumps as possible. It's easy to get stuck. This section here, you can get very stuck. So there's a particular kind of just path of entry to get off of the bridge jump. And then a particular timing to be able to get the turnaround too. Because it is a bit precise to get it without getting stuck on one side or the other. And it doesn't take much for the CPUs to catch up. Again, the rubber banding is not just effective, it's like a Pokemon attack. It's super effective. I don't know what the deal with it is, it just works. Paul Bird thought the CPU should be genuinely challenging. Props to him. Doesn't always make me happy, but props to him nonetheless. So that turnaround is going to be the quickest if we can get multiple jumps in a row, in between, at any point possible. Doing that turnaround normally, forces us into the sidewalls. We can get stuck on the sidewalls. It's just a bad time. So jumps are kind of just the key to not getting severely, stopped. And our car can just go from 60 to absolutely nothing. Okay, let's see how this final one goes. We were off the path but we're not quite far enough in. So we're gonna end up taking last here, but that's fine. No problem. We took first in the first two. It isn't always the fastest, and it can be kind of finicky as to when you can activate it and when you can't activate it. So that's a mountain pass for you. All right. Well, you know what? I consider it a win that I was able to get even 3 of them. Just 2 gems, actually. JK. Just 2 gems. So, Coastal Road is documented by being very trolly and being very slow sometimes. What you want to do is collect 3 to 4 gems. Optimally, you're able to pick up 3 or 4, but the CPUs, they usually don't allow it. You have to have really good start turns, and hope not to get stuck in between 1 and or 2 of them. Otherwise, they will send you in one of, like, 500 different directions. And they will do it. It's either that or you will just have your speed cut in half. And sometimes that's a really bad thing. Actually, that's usually almost always a bad thing in wild animal racing. Wild animal racing requires you to be not stuck and really far into the lead. Oh, these CPUs are incredible. They're using 100,000% of their brains. They saw the line I drew last time and said, no, you're not getting it a second time, which is astonishing. The CPUs, they are smarter than we give credit. They just don't show it in, like, the most blatant ways. It's all very subtle. Alright. Fortunately, I would like to think that the slingshot will go on to benefit pretty much us, and I think it did. So we're going to be kind of stuck in the middle of the pack, and my hope is that we will be able to kind of just thread the needle at the very final finish. We're going to need to cut it really far to the inside, and no doubt we just tied things up right there. This is wild animal racing. You can be tied up and take first place one course and second place the other 3. So be thankful every time you get a winning course. Valley is also one of those courses where you are more likely to finish dead last than first at any particular set time. The items aren't exactly built for your favor. They are built as, like, a bit of a joke at your expense. As they either work extremely well or they do next to nothing. That was a perfect example of the weapons working way too well. The hammer is usually about as good as somebody throwing a toothpick at a hail bay, at a bale of hay. There's particular jumps you can kind of go for here, but okay, we took advantage of the slingshot at the end, which is good, because we're going to be coming up on another very jank course here. 2 firsts on the first, and 2 firsts on the second. We're basically lining up all wins here. Oh, hey, hello. Sometimes the CPUs will just push you into the lava, and you just have to just kind of smile and wave. Iceland is that sort of course. We like to ride it to the inside, transfer up to the top for a few gems, and repeat until we hopefully win. Again, winning is the hardest thing to do in this game. It's about as easy as like 2 or 3 things that I can think of that are very challenging. Iceland is a challenging thing. This is incredible. I love those mid-packs. They're fun to watch. They're not fun to have to deal with when you're the one who's playing. We're going to be hopefully finding some more gems to make this a little bit less of a pain. But again, We're gonna just kind of decorate the top here. I'm gonna ride the inside now. And now I can just kind of sit up here like so. Okay. Well, I wasn't quite able to get that turn that I was looking for there. We should hopefully be able to finish under 130. World Tour time. That is the end of Cup number 2. We're halfway there. Probably a little over halfway there, knowing my luck. We're in Egypt, and yet again, the CPU is proven to be some of the most effective CPUs I've ever seen. They work extremely well. Zebra is out for the jukes. Nice jump. We got a pretty precise timing on it too. If you jump with forward acceleration, it can be faster than actually driving normal. Getting stuck in this game is probably one of the most consequential things that can ever happen to you as a wild animal racing runner. It can be the end of a run. So whenever we get stuck, we just kind of have to like react right away and hope we're not in Holland. There's a particular tunnel in Holland. If you get stuck, it's a reset. It's basically a reset. In a marathon, it's like a loss of anywhere between 10 and 60 seconds. Okay. These bumps, sometimes they operate like bumps should, other times they do absolutely nothing. I don't know. We're stuck again. Bear in mind, just a small corner. In any other game, you would be able to kind of just sneak your way out of it. In wild animal racing, it's a death wish. You don't want to get stuck to those pyramids either. They are very, very slow. Sometimes they are the single worst thing that can happen to you. Now, I've always gotten myself stuck, but I'm always stuck at the point where I can make a comeback on the slingshot too, so able to walk away with a win on Egypt. Pretty good. As one of my viewers wisely said, yeah, the CPUs were better designed than the physics of the game. It's kind of true, but then again, how can you make a physics engine better than the greatest racing game ever made right here? I mean, if it's bad, why is this game a masterpiece? I don't really see any issues with it in the slightest. It's perfect. I couldn't think of anything to improve. Every time I get stuck in the wall, Oh, we managed to escape. So that's not the tightest tunnel in between, but it is one of the bad ones. The first one is probably the worst, the second one would be the second worst, and then they get easier from there on forward. Getting stuck usually is a reset in this cup. That one in particular here, we were fortunate enough to be far to the outside. If we were closer to the inside, I would have reset right away, especially if we're, like, lap 1. We should be done with Holland right now. One more cup in a World Tour, which is Paris. Paris, France is an interesting course. You know, I'm kind of curious. Is that a shortcut right here? Does it do anything? I could show it off in the marathon if I really wanted to. It was very curious to see if it does anything. So you can go through them, it seems, but I'm pretty sure it's just a lot slower. I'm glad I tried it at least once. My curiosity got the better of me there. What can I say? This run was not on PB pace, so I kind of just wanted to see what it was all about. I gotta love this weapon. if there was ever something that would describe the most overkill version of a banana peel, I mean, that would be it. This version of the banana peel is like if somebody saw the banana and said, let's dunk it in oil. Let's just dunk it in oil. That ought to do the trick. And perfectly summarizes the power of the banana peel in this game. It is really broken. So that's the end of World Tour. We're on Mystical again. Cloudland is so short unless you have a very wrong approach on the entry of this. And it is possible to have a terrible entry on this course here. So we have to kind of just turn the... have to kind of turn things back around. We're going to reset and try it a second time. It's okay. It's not always cooperative the first time. Okay, well, we're not going to get it the first time. We're just going to have to deal with the consequences of our actions. It's still a pretty quick course, and if we don't get it the first time, as long as we get it the next 2 tries, it'll still be pretty mean and fast. Again, as long as you have the proper spacing, it is generally a very easy one to set up. Okay, well, we will deal with the consequences of our actions. If I can hit it at least once, I consider it a win. And I prefer to hit it more times than that, but that's okay. We're on to Mystical. The designs on here, I mean, look at these colors. They're not an eyesore at all. And neither is the music. The music is not an ear sore. My head is not hurting at the moment. It's hard to really put into, like, accurate words, but if you draw a bad line on here, it can be awful. And so far, I'm drawing pretty decent lines. There's an example of getting kind of stuck. It was not even the worst, like, stuck that you could get here. Okay, let's see. Not bad at all. Under 52. We're on the final level of this All Cups run, which is underwater. It is an interesting track. I will put it that way. If you jump the right way, you can actually go at the same speed on those outside edges as you can the inside. Also, just a fun little side effect that you saw there by using the orb, it allows you to kind of just take on a whole new navigation style. This is working a little bit better. So, like, the strat here is, if the CPUs are keeping up with you, is to kind of just jump to the inside, jump on top of the CPUs, rinse and repeat. It allows you to kind of take on the same speed this whole time. And it's actually faster, even if you don't finish, like, in first place directly. As you can see, I'm staying out of the way of the CPUs. And, keeping pretty good pace with them. Time's coming up as we cross the finish line right here, and time. 1912. So even with all the blips and mistakes here, which there were quite a few of, still finished with a 1912, under 20 minutes, which I consider to be a win in my books. This would be at the lower end of, like, finishing times in this game. You know, I had a couple of times that I got stopped on a few tracks, and I had to entirely reset the first run of Cloudland, and got stuck a few times, so... With all that in consideration, I'd say it went pretty good. Might as well just show off one more. Show off one more. Just to prove this, it can be consistently done. Do my best to kind of draw the lines as best as I can here. Let's see if I can get a good enough line here. Bit of zigzagging required for this first part. The first part kind of just requires you to, you know, get each of the lap triggers as needed. There's the first half and then the second half. And sometimes it goes really well. Other times you get very stuck. The hitboxes and kind of just how this course geography works is about as consistent as it looks. It's all over the place. Regardless of that, we're done right away. That was decent for marathon. I'd say pretty solid, actually. In an actual, like, you know, PB attempts, especially where I'm at right now, I'd be hoping for something under 50 seconds. In a really optimal pace, we'd be going for 45. But in a marathon, if we can, like, be, you know, within 20 seconds or so, that's really good for hills. The next course, of course, being Lagoon. If you thought the lines and the speeds were variable on hills when going back and forth between the lap triggers, you've seen nothing. There's quite a few unpredictable cuts where if you just draw just enough of the wrong way, it really doesn't matter where you are. It seems kind of random. Like, that could have very easily respawned me and lost me about a second or so. And for some reason, that attempt just worked. Other times, you will go really fast through it. Like that example. Now, despite going really fast on these cuts here, the CPUs have some pretty extreme rubber banding, so they're always able to catch up no matter, like, the circumstance. Like, with there being, like, 2 exceptions. And I don't know how that works either. 50 times out of 50, you'll get it to work, and the other 50, you'll be, like, really severely out of bounds. So, again, I'm not sure what the deal with it is. Nice. That was a good Lagoon. Like, half a second ahead on Lagoon is great, if at all possible. So, here's a track we will not be more than halfway ahead of. Mountain Pass is a very slow start. Actually, all the terrain on Mountain Pass is either really, really slow or extremely fast. This section here can be truly some of the worst. And if we draw a bad line, it's a bad time. Okay, so it was imperfect, but we were able to get the cut here. What we want to do is we want to go around a little bit, then go backwards a little bit, turn ourselves around, and despite the CPUs taking the lead, because of how wicked their rubber banding is, we're still actually just on pace with a normal path, or maybe slightly ahead. I mean, that's how good it is. Again, this path is just rough. Sometimes you get the results you're looking for, other times you, looks like you're the one who's stuck in the desert. Okay. That was a beautiful cut, actually. This one's about as good as I could expect. The gems allow us to go a little bit faster, and it's not always noticeable unless you just keep on collecting so many of them. And eventually it does get to the point where it actually feels like a racing game, but you like need to seriously collect every single last one, and most of the time you don't. And that was even better than the last lap, actually. I think we might be able to... Very nice turnaround. Most people would just go backwards, but I like to pick something that's a little bit more consistent. We are done with the rally section. That was a very solid rally section for a marathon run. So we're going to be, like, kind of just hoping to grab like a gem or two on this first stretch. We do want to grab as many as possible. Sometimes that's just not possible. The game just kind of sees what you're doing and says, how about no? So what we like to do, the more of them we can get, it's genuinely helpful on this course. Like, if you can get an optimal number, it saves a good, like, 10 or so seconds. As long as you're not running into the CPUs. Put a big old pin in that, because sometimes the CPUs run into you no matter how fast you're going, and it's just a bad time. Alright, let's see. Can we collect some more? You know what? Considering how messy that was, I still got the number of gems I really wanted there. We're going to kind of just go a little bit to the outside to collect that one. And hope that CPU doesn't drag me back in, which it did. We can still draw a suboptimal line, despite what the line did to us. Line's trolley, it's just a hunch. Maybe he's not a trolley character, but I always get the hunch that Paul Bird designed the lion and the zebra to be the trolley's characters by far. Elephant may be there, but I don't exactly have my feelings about it. Maybe y'all have a different opinion of who's considered, like, the trolliest character. Okay, good jump. If I didn't jump there at the beginning going into the sand, there's a very real possible chance the CPU's could have launched me into the side of the hill on the island, or they could have very easily launched me further into the sand than I should be. 150, 168, really good coastal road, actually. I collected a good number of gems there too, so it works out nicely. It will not always be that way. With this being wild animal racing and all, sometimes things get really wacky. This is a great example of when the game gets wacky and runs by its own rules. Because of the way that we re-grounded ourselves, the game decided to put us diagonal for a good like 10 to 15 seconds, and that can last either the entire course or as little as a second. There's really no clear way of like being able to gauge like when it'll stop. You just roll with it and hope for the best. Actually, that's a good mantra for wild animal racing. Roll with it, hope for the best. It's a great way to describe this game. So right here, I have a what's going to become very inconvenient later down the line, which is banana peels. They're a little too effective, and you really don't want to be running into them. When you're jumping these corners of the valley, sometimes you'll go faster, other times you'll just go slower. It's supposed to be the effective strat, but it's about as effective as your luck is. Okay, speaking of luck, I'm going to be kind of just pushing into the outside and hoping to win. Yes, I did. Just barely, too. I mean, it could have been better, but knowing what I set up there, it could have been worse. A perfect way to describe wild animal racing is like a night at the improv. Sometimes your stand-up works well, and other times it just falls flat, like your cards. Other times it falls diagonally. I definitely know comedy. Don't try to prove me wrong. Speaking of diagonal, and you may have noticed, in a very subtle way, it kind of just very gradually, like super gradually returns to normal. Now, I am tempted to say that there are better lines than what the world record does, but it's also what is the safest, because, I mean, this course is known for being anything but safe, so we're very slightly diagonal yet again. Going into the last lap, hopefully we can keep it under like 125, but that's not a guarantee either. This game is known for taking your dreams and crushing them to pieces. That was a pretty good weapon to get at the very end. Let's see if I can finish it first. Well, it doesn't exactly matter because we managed to do all right. And we got a very nice landing frame at the beginning of Egypt. That will not always happen to us. There will be times where we will not get a good landing frame on Egypt. And if I can, I will do my best to jump around these corners. Sometimes I just have to kind of like keep myself from running off the rails. Jumping is sometimes used to control the game, it's sometimes used to go fast, and other times we just jump because we like to. Now, because of our diagonal orientation of the vehicle, we cannot jump. The game is confused. It says, "What are you doing? That's illegal. Please stop." And due to this minor little discrepancy, we are unable to fix it right at the moment. Which is not the greatest problem to have, but could be worse. So we're just gonna have to kind of just rely on good old intuition to get us through. For some reason, when you're diagonal, the bumps affect you very slightly less unless you're at the edge. Now, because of the way I set things up, I was able to get myself back into a normal car position, which is good. So we do want to be doing that as much as possible. Lots of turnarounds here, plenty of places to kind of just give it a full speed here. 146 low is a solid marathon pace. And now we're in Holland. One thing I did not mention when I was on this course previously is that there are cycles. You do want to follow them as best as possible. The CPUs do not always allow you that opportunity, but if you can, it's best to try to get a little bit to the right or to the left of the windmills. It allows us to save just a few seconds. Sometimes you can clip through them, but you can't necessarily trust it being a consistent, being a constant. Getting stuck there, it's about a half a second time loss. Inconvenient as it is, it could be significantly worse. If you get bumped into the side of the windmills, that can be the beginning of just a pretty precipitous downfall. Every border, every concrete boundary in this game is home to the end of the run. Boundaries in this game are not just effective, they might as well just be the game's border security, prevent the player from breaking the game outright. Which, hey look, more power to the devs, I guess. You may notice there's a few different divots in Paris here. They really don't lead anywhere, and you end up losing more time going to them. But they are corners that you can go into. That's pretty cool. So, unlike Holland, Paris does have tunnels, but they are not blocked off by windmills all the time, which is oddly convenient. Okay, alright. At the end of World Tour. Onwards to Magical. And it is a magical experience, I'll tell you that much. Speaking of things that are magical, that's Shortcut. There's a bit of a distance that you want to go for it. That is considered the optimal distance because it allows you to go very fast. I had to kind of compensate and go a little bit further to the outside in order to not get stuck on the flagpole, because you can very easily get stuck on that flagpole. It's a bad time, I wouldn't advise it. Alright, so that was much better than my actual PB Cloud Valley. Or Cloud Section. I don't know the exact name. It's just a bunch of clouds. I know that much. Cloudland, maybe? Who knows? This level's called Mystic, but I would prefer to call it Discount Rainbow Road. It's a beautiful level. Also, that music is just grooving. What more can be said? It's a lot of circles. So if you don't have a headache by the end of this, consider yourself fortunate. Played it just a tiny bit safer. Okay, so we're on to the last level. Underwater can be really, really cooperative, or nothing can go right. And we should expect both scenarios. That was a beautiful starting item to receive. Gonna kind of just ram into a few of the... Gonna go a little bit further. I like to place the bananas in the middle, as that allows us to very quickly take a big lead, and we can kind of play it a little bit more daring with the lines. Alright. A couple of jumps to the inside. Oh, we did actually hit one of our own bananas. We did have a hammer ready to go. So, if we did face any more trouble from CPUs, those were ready to go. It may be pushing it fairly close to the end of this. It's not going to PB, but it was a very good run. And... time. 17:43, which actually, at the time of, video submission, this is considered to be my second best time. It's about a little under 4 seconds away from my personal best, so that gives y'all a pretty good idea of what the runs can look like all over the place. This would be a good marathon run, the 18 would be a solid run, and the 19 would be a decent run. I feel justified in providing the run estimate with 20 minutes, so. Wild Animal Racing is a goofy racing game. I love it with all my heart. I think it'd be really, really cool to see it on AGDQ's big old main stage. And with any hope, it'll be there. But only time will tell. For those of you who are watching the submission video, thank you for your consideration. I always do appreciate everybody checking out the videos. And good luck getting through the rest of them. And hopefully you have fun with it too.